Hello and welcome back to a humid Saturday night here at Mountains Garage. I just wrestled this ArborPress out of the back of my Suburban. So let's back up a little bit. If you're like me, and you probably are if you watch this channel, I keep an ongoing list, sometimes for decades, of tools that I'd really like to have, but sometimes they're cost prohibitive, or the ones that you find along the way aren't exactly what you were looking for. So, and this isn't exactly what I was looking for, but I'll take it. So I've wanted a giant ArborPress forever. I used to use one at the second transmission shop I worked at, and that was in the early 80s. And we used it for pressing in transmission bushings and seals. I've been using the hammer for 4 or 5 decades. I have a small Harbor Freight ArborPress, half-ton. It only has like a 4-inch throat, if that, so I can't get a transmission pump in there to service the bushings. I really can't get anything in there. It is good for like LS trunnion bearing kits for the rocker arms. Pressing those in and out, that works pretty slick. It's a cute little small one, and you know, for its size it does pretty good, but on the list was one of these. This has a 12-inch plus throat on it. 3 tons, it's like 45 to 1. I'm sure it's pretty powerful. I literally am still sweating from wrestling it out of the truck. I haven't tried to do anything with it. It all took place last night, Facebook Marketplace, about 5 o'clock. I just happened to, click on Marketplace, just listed. I was the first one to respond. That's always important because it was priced insanely cheap, $200. I've been looking at them. They're anywhere from $700 or $800 to thousands of dollars. New, I don't know. I can call Greenard Monday, I guess, and ask him a question. And in the one photograph listed on Facebook, it had the plate, and it wasn't broken. A lot of the cheaper ones, this will be cast. This is actual steel. And all the specs on this, you go right to their website, still there. They make fancier ones with a ratcheting arm, but for what I'm going to be using it for, I'm completely thrilled with it. There's always more options, of course, but I'll take it. So I responded to the ad, and it took a few hours, and the lady got back to me and said she gave me the address and said there would be somebody there at 11 o'clock this morning. You know how that goes. Something priced really cheap probably is not going to stick around. Somebody's going to beat me to it, but I took my chances. So I did text about 10 o'clock this morning, said I was headed to the address. She said there was somebody there, so that means it was still there at 10 o'clock. You never know what situation you're going to get in, and it was raining, so I decided not to take the pickup. Staring at the picture, I figured if it was just me and trying to load it by myself, I was just going to tip it into my truck and put it in there. Now that I was bringing the Suburban, well, that's kind of the same process, but you got to be a little more gingerly. I get there, and it's the worst scenario for the family selling the stuff. It was their father, who I'm sure, if I had ever met while he was alive, I'm sure we're kinfolk, because in his little shop behind his house, he had a small mill, a lathe, a few other pieces. His daughter said he used to work on stock car stuff, but hey, race car is a race car. And like I say, it's pretty neat. Completely out of place in another corner was a laser printer and some kind of CNC machine, real small one, so that was kind of interesting. Seemed out of place with the old antiquated stuff on the other side of the shop, but either way, there was a gentleman there to help me, and we managed to get it out of the garage, excuse me, and load it into my Suburban, and off I went. And it didn't even get wet. I haven't even had a chance to clean it. It was hot and sunny this afternoon. I wasn't even going to tackle it. And now here it is, 7:30 at night or whatever it is, and I just wrestled it out of there myself. It was laid on its back. This was pointing up. You know, it had gone turtle in the back of the Suburban. So I dragged it out. It was on a piece of plywood, and that kind of followed me. And believe it or not, I was able to flip it down and stand it up. I was going to try to get the forks of the tractor under it, but instead, I just wrestled the whole thing. The stand is not made by Greenerd, but it's adequate. It's bolted down. I've wrestled the heck out of it, and it hasn't moved, so it's going to stay. I'll probably build another shelf or two and put my bushing removal tools in there. And thinking of this process while I was driving back and planning ahead, I had a flashback. It's not a concern for me now. I work in my shop by myself. But if you have specialty bushing or bearing removers and you work in a shop with other people, you can't put them out in general population because well-meaning individuals will use them for everything else, and you'll go to press the intended bushing and get the correct, pusher for it, and it's not even going to be round anymore. I've experienced this. I once worked at a place that had I think it's Transdapt, maybe, I forget the brand, Master bushing kit at the time. It included the $700 at the time, and every transmission made up to that point. This was a huge set and hung on the wall with a chart to tell you what number and what position bushing you were going to press. Everything there for success, and it sat next to the press, and it got used for everything else. It's probably still hanging there, all beat to heck. You're being used for everything it was never intended for. So I'm excited to get it cleaned up, find an area in my shop big enough to put it in, because we're down to, 2 by 4 foot sections of shop I might be able to use. But we'll work on that in the future. One of the beauties of working for myself is I set my own schedule, and I have time to talk to people. They're not customers, they all become friends. Same goes for wheeling and dealing. It seems everywhere I go, I end up making friends with whoever I'm dealing with, and that's not a bad situation when you have the time to stop and listen and talk to people. That story is definitely true from a man named Richard, who I bought my Street 55 Chevy hardtop from, coming up on 2 years ago now. We became friends before I even saw the car, and we made a deal on that. He's just a good guy. And he gathers a bunch of parts. He's been changing the Model A two-door body that I shot a video about it. I owned the body a couple years ago. That was part of the trade for the 55 hardtop. He's built a hot rod out of it, and he's always changing it. He put a different frame under it. I bought the old frame. Every time he has a pile of parts, he gives me a call. We met up yesterday, and I bought a bunch of stuff that he swapped out on the Model A, cool stuff, and he always throws in extra things that he finds, good stuff, but in his collection of stuff was this piece of paper, and he says, yeah, that's one of the bill of sales out of Connecticut for that 55 Chevy. I love the history. Everything has a story. That car has a wicked cool story. It's set forever in a field up near Richard's house, but obviously before that, this is dated, let's see, October 10th, 1966. This 45-year-old lady at the time, she was born in 1921, but at the time she was 45 years old, and she had just bought herself a red 1955 6-cylinder two-door hardtop in Connecticut. I'm going to look up the town. I'm sure she's passed on, and including probably whoever sold it to her, that name is Lars. That's an interesting name. So apparently Lars owned the car before her, yeah, that's just amazing. And people smarter than I am could do the math, but I can tell you in Connecticut in 1966, it cost $10 to register the car and a $2 title fee. So $12 a year to run the car. And they went ahead and dated it. It expired 10/31/67. So interesting. So I'll put that with some other paperwork I have with the car. And neat, really neat stuff. Well, I'm gonna go in and get cooled off in the air conditioning. I'll be glad when fall shows up, or at least more moderate humidity. I don't mind the temperature. I'm kind of getting used to that, I guess, but you can't get used to the humidity. I don't know how the people in the southern states do it. I say it every time I talk about humidity. It's oppressive, I guess is the word. So, hope you're having a great evening. Stay cool wherever you are. Take care.